Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to this live talk on socializing and chronic pain. What happens when we're in pain for our relationships? What happens when we're in certain relationships that may or may not be healthy? What happens to our body? What happens when we're in relationship that may not be fully supportive? These are all questions today that we're going to ask ourselves, and we're going to discuss it. I will discuss it with my colleague Amari Dior, who's a pain management coach. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pierre-Etienne Vanier. I'm the founder of the Healing Studio Online and a mind-body practitioner specialized in nervous system regulation. So here is Amari, her to this live talk. Let's see if the magic works. And here she is.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to you. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. A few minutes late here because, sometimes there's things going on in life that make us late. So what's happening in LA?
Oh yeah, just did a few errands this morning and settled in. So yeah, good. It's nice and sunny out, nice and clear.
Of course. So I'm gonna let you, if you don't mind, just put the title
Yes.
for today, um, which, as I was mentioned earlier, is around socializing and chronic pain, or the relationship between socializing or relationships and pain and chronic pain. And I do want to mention here that we are talking about physical pain, but we're also talking about emotional pain. I know a lot of people, and I would include myself in that, we're dealing with chronic emotional pain, some issues, some traumas that, let's say, may still need to be dealt with, healed, and so yeah, social well-being and chronic pain. So let me pin that. Shall we take a couple of breaths before we start, as always?
Let's do it.
Invitation to you, to me, to anybody watching this replay here. It might have been a long day, maybe you're starting the day, regardless of where you are. Just take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths with your eyes closed or with your eyes open. One more for the road. And feel free to give yourself a little shake, a little stretch. Because today we're going to talk about, it's kind of part two from last week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just could you refresh our viewers' memory? What did we talk about last week?
Yeah. So last week we talked about COVID-related fear. Um, and its impact on our well-being. And we had some interesting conversation because we shine a light on the fact that we are all living in this pandemic. We're all fighting to survive. And in certain points, we have fear, and the fear affects our well-being. And a lot of people sweep it under the rug or maybe not even acknowledge it. And for me personally, I spoke about my personal experience with chronic pain and with COVID this last month, and the way that just my emotional well-being and my mental well-being, how it affected the difference in my immune system and my ability to cope. And it's the same thing with everyone, the ability to cope really, and how fear impacts that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What for me really last week, like you said, beyond the impact of the fear, I think it was a reminder to myself and to those who want to hear it to remember that to a certain extent, fear is an option. And here, just to clarify, I don't want to say like just live in la la land and pretend that nothing's happening and just, business as usual. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that being in a state of constant fear will actually be counterproductive and make you less safe and less able to heal and less able to rest and sleep and so on and so forth. And so here it's an invitation to be to tap into some natural ways to boost our immune system, to boost our capacity to be more loving, to be more understanding, to be more compassionate. And as far as I see it, one of these key components is socializing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's become it has become almost controversial. It's become controversial to socialize. It's become controversial here, to be with your family, to be with friends. And I get it, right? Like it's some people may be immunocompromised. Some people may be dealing with particular situations. And yes, let's be smart. Let's be smart and take the measures that are appropriate. Let's also understand that as far as I can see it, I think a lot of people implementing measures that are actually harmful.
Yeah.
And isolation is isolation, like I think I ranted enough last week on this, and so I'll keep it brief. I think isolation is harmful, it's painful and harmful, right? Anyway, so that's where I want to start here. By
Yeah.
the solution, remembering that we are social creatures, and from the moment we start to get isolated, I think it can be tremendously harmful for us, for our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health.
Definitely, I agree.
Right.
Yeah, and I've experienced that for myself in many different occasions. I 1,000% agree with that.
So here, before we go back into what socializing may look like, maybe let's start, if that's all right with you, with taking it looking at the other way, which is like, okay, what happens when we're in pain? Because, and here I want to come from my own personal experience. When I'm in pain, I don't feel like I don't have the ability to connect. So let's remember, and that's a reminder and a call for compassion here, that pain, physical, emotional, all of this will contribute to us shutting down, to us to a certain extent self-isolating and kind of saying, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to meet with you. I don't want to do any of that. And so, and even if I'm around people, when I'm in pain, I'm not really here. Right? So it's not even a question of being around people. It's a question of being able to be with people, to be present with people. And so my body may be here, but really my mind is just like shutting down and overwhelmed. And I often, when that happens, I'm completely unable to relate, and that's a difficult place to be, because when that happens for me and to the people I know and the clients I'm working with, in that moment we're cutting ourselves off from that remedy, right? We're cutting ourselves off from potentially what may be the most helpful thing in our life, which is like other people's love and support and compassion, hoping that we get that in our relationships. So here is just a reminder of, for those of you, and we'll go in a few moments, we can go deeper into like what socializing looks like, but don't beat yourself up too hard when if you're like, oh, I should be more social, I should be more this, I should be more that. That pain will require attention. And here we're not saying do this or do that. It's not one or the other. It's like can I strike a balance? Just like we talked
Exactly.
about fear, it's not about having no fear or being in fear all the time. It's about striking a balance.
So,
And here we're not saying, forget about it, just go and party. And we're just saying, let's acknowledge also that fear is a tremendous barrier in us
yeah,
relating to each other.
definitely. And like just in my personal journey, you're so right in saying it's like a negative cycle where you have pain. I had pain. It made me want to crawl up in a shell. And also, I was more irritable. I didn't have as much patience. But I also had this hindrance where I knew if I drive for more than 20 minutes, my legs are going to go out. And this fear that the pain caused, that also made me crawl into a shell and miss out on so much of my college life and my family experiences. And it got to a point where I had to stop that negative cycle because, in turn, not having that connection, not having the support in my head, and I've talked about this many times before, my self-talk started saying to me, they should know that I'm in pain. They should understand that even though I'm not able to get there, that they need to support me and I need this support, etc., etc. All this should, which created more anger, which created more pain, which created less socializing. And it was a negative cycle. And finally, I got to a place where my pain slapped me in the face, you know, lying down on the floor, completely legs not working. I got to a place where I was just like, is this what my life is going to be? And not just is this what my life is going to be with pain, but is this what my life is going to be alone with this pain? Is this what I want? Or do I want to make a change where I'm aligned with my values? And my values for me was seeing family and having these connections with people that was meaningful, that was more than just me going through the motions. And when I would make it to an event, just be there, my body would be present, but I'm fighting all of the pain that's going on in my head, and also the self-talk pain that's going in my head. Because at that point in my chronic pain journey, before I realized my values and figured out a pain management system and walked in all of these holistic techniques, I wasn't safe in my own head either, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
How, if I may reflect, I want to reflect on what you mentioned around unmet expectations, which
Mm-hmm.
which interestingly is a conversation I've had with one of my clients today. Um, because there's two things here. There's like me showing up with what I feel and acknowledging that I think unfortunately today it's or maybe it's just my life, but it's hard to find a space where you can truly be yourself, where you
Yeah.
can go as deep as you need to go. I know this is the kind of spaces I look for. Um, and I'm mentioning that because this morning I got up and I opened my phone and I had 30 messages from some of the facilitators from the Sacred Sounds Man Circles, right? Which is a bunch of dudes getting together and just like digging deep. Um, and it was triggered by this conversation got started by a brother who said, "Hey, I'm going through a rough time right now, and I just want to say it, you know, I'm giving a wink here to Pierre, who's watching us, who's also one of the facilitators there, and in that conversation, um, it was beautiful to see all the men showing up and saying, "That's okay, bro. You don't have right now to cheer up. You don't have to tap dance. You don't have to pretend that you're okay. You can just be you. And right now, I don't have a solution for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but what I can say is that it's okay for you to feel what you feel, and I'm with you, and I'm witnessing that."
Mm.
And that was such a powerful thread, that was so touching, and it reminded me somehow how rare I think these spaces are. And because oftentimes we show up and we don't express, or I say, I speak for myself, I may not express my expectations, I may not express my needs. And then guess what? They're not met
Yeah.
because people don't know what they are.
Ah,
And so here it's also an invitation for me to self-reflect and say, like, did I express these needs? Did I tell them that, hey, I'm going through this rough patch, I'm dealing with some pain, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that,
yeah,
right? Or did I show up faking the funk because I'm trying to meet maybe their expectations,
exactly.
right?
Right.
Like,
And ignore, and with doing that, I would ignore myself trying to meet others' expectations, and also not giving myself grace, and just shining a light on the fact that this is what I'm going through right now. And it's okay. I was talking to a client yesterday that was about to go to lunch and socialize, and this is something that she's really looking forward to because she has pain. And the biggest thing for me that I gave her a personal experience example, I just said, it's okay to go out and if you can make it, that social connection is going to be beautiful, and do it for the connection, but don't do it for the distraction against your body, because with that you're ignoring, you would ignore yourself.
that's
And when I
tempting
would do
too,
that,
yeah.
yeah, and when I would do that time and time again in the beginning of my healing journey, when I didn't understand that not only was the physical pain affecting my emotional, spiritual, mental well-being, before, when I would go out to socialize, I would say, I'm going to do this to distract myself and to fake the funk, like you said. And in turn, what was happening was I was ignoring my limitations, I was ignoring what I need, and I also wasn't present for connection. I was just present for distraction, which is
Mm.
totally different. It's a negative light of me not putting myself first and what I need first and ignoring myself, opposed to going for connection, having that socializing for connection that would give me healing, and that would make me feel a part of something, and that would also allow me to honestly say who I am, where I am in the moment, and where I need support.
Ooh. But
Yeah.
but isn't that the hardest part? I mean,
Hardest part.
and that's right. Like if I'm, 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 I'm assuming anybody hearing that may resonate with that because how hard it's hard. And I speak for myself to say this is what I need and this is what I'm feeling right now. And today I may not be like cracking jokes every 5 minutes and making you feel good because guess
Mhm.
what? I need to be held.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm reflecting here on what what I hear in many of the some of the community gatherings, right? Some of these gatherings that you've attended for people who are recovering from cancer and other health issues. And there is what I see or what I hear from them is like a pressure to perform. There's a pressure to perform, there's a pressure to appear a certain way. Because if I'm dealing with that pain, that means there's something wrong with me. There's means like there's a weakness, that I'm not resilient enough, that I'm not strong enough. And here I really want to say, fuck that. This is all programming that gets in the way of your healing. And from the moment and I when I reflect on that, I'm sure at times I mean, compassion fatigue is real, right? So yes, it's very likely that some friends may not have the bandwidth um,
Yeah.
to hold you in your most authentic and honest version of yourself. But my question is like, but then why would you bother with people who are not able to hold you in your most
Yeah.
authentic version of yourself? And
Mm.
that's a hard question that I'm asking myself oftentimes. That I'm like, well, if you need me to be there so you get something out of me, so I make you feel good, or so you get something, then are you, what is this relationship here?
Right.
Right? Isn't a friendship, or at least what I'm longing for, what I'm looking for, people who can be with me at my highest highs and my lowest lows.
Right.
Let's share joy and gratitude, and know that if at some point I'm gonna hit like some low, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna feel bad and sad and angry and so on and so forth, well, I'm hoping that you'll be able to be here with me.
Yeah.
Because I hear from so many, especially cancer patients I'm working with. There was another conversation yesterday with another gentleman who was like, I've seen a lot of people disappear from my life from the moments that I started to have health problems.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that, I don't wish to judge when I say that.
Yeah.
And there may be part of me, part of me may, because I'm like, oh, how dare they, abandon you when you most needed them.
Yeah.
But then I'm probably guilty as charged. I may have, at some point say, hey, I don't have the bandwidth for that either, and I may not be here for you. In the past, I'm sure that happened, but here my point is the importance of finding a container for us to be able to be ourselves, to be our most vulnerable, honest version of ourselves. And let's face it, it's scary.
Very.
It's scary because what if people get uncomfortable? I see
Or what
that.
if they don't
Right?
respond well? What if they walk out of your life and
Yeah,
yeah.
which, as far as I can see, it may actually be an improvement in your life, because you know what? They were not here to support you and to love you in the first place. But easier said than done.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely. And that's one of the main things that I think became a gift in my chronic pain journey was realizing really realizing the people that were there in those highs and lows that I could be totally honest with.
Mm.
And also understanding that certain people are in a space in their life. Everyone has their own thing that's going on. Everyone in this world is going to experience some type of suffering. And we all have our own personal growth and our own path that we're on. So some people just might not be capable. And that was one of the biggest, hardest lessons I had to learn, which was people have their own journeys and their own paths and their own emotional capacity. And if they can't meet me where I need to be met in my journey right now, it's okay. And it doesn't it's not a reflection of who I am and my value and my ability to be loved. And that was a really hard thing for me to come across and to accept when filtering out the people that could be there for me and help hold me up when I was at my lowest and celebrate me at my highest, versus the ones that kind of wanted me just in the middle. Right. And just wanted me convenient, and it
Just
was
be
really,
stable and convenient,
just be
right?
stable and convenient. Yeah. And it was really hard for me because with chronic pain, the need for connection is really detrimental to one's health and one's well-being and ability to cope and feeling like there is some type of community, which is why I appreciate these talks and what we do, you as a mind-body practitioner, me as a coach, to be able to be that support system for so many people, because it is hard to let go, and it is hard to not feel. It was hard for me not to feel like it was personal in the beginning when people didn't show up, or when people would forget that I'm in pain. They would ask me, oh, you want to go do this? And I'm like, I don't even work anymore. How can I go do that? Like all of the different stressors that come along with pain, the financial stress as well. For a lot of people, a lot of my clients and myself personally. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I'm resonating with a lot of what you're saying, and what resonates the most is the ability to acknowledge that them not being there for you is not a statement on you.
Yeah.
And maybe not even on them. It's just that, like you said, and it's okay. they're dealing with their own stuff, and in
Hmm.
that moment they may not be able, to they may not be able to show up. And I know for me, it is hard. It is hard to not get it, take it personally. But when I reflect, I'm like, sometimes I've worked so hard on some relationships just to
Yeah.
maintain these relationships. And as I grow older and my beard turns whiter and whiter, I'm like, why? Why am I wasting all this energy trying
Mm,
to make that relationship work when truly it's like it's exhausting?
yeah.
And I think the reason why I did that is because for so many years I didn't know what it felt like to be in a relationship where there's like zero expectations and an absolute acceptance of everything I was.
Hmm.
And as I'm saying it, I'm I'm getting goosebumps because what a gift to be in a relationship, whether it's a love relationship, like a friend, or I want to say with strangers, which
Yeah.
in some crazy ways, in the circles I've attended, whether it's men's circles, community gatherings, there's a whole bunch of communities right now were thankfully acknowledging the danger that we're in to disconnect from each other, right? And so they're creating these spaces to say, hey, let's come back together.
Hmm.
And what a gift to be able to show up and to say,
Yeah.
this is who I am, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm anything else. And how freeing and how liberating. And I
Hmm.
think for me, once I saw that this was an option, that's when I understood that I was like, oh, but then why would I settle for less?
Yeah.
Life is short, my friends, right? It's like I
Yeah.
don't I don't want to waste time and energy on people right now. We're just trying to get something. It's not about an honest, genuine, vulnerable connection.
Yeah.
It's transactional. And I'm
Yeah.
working hard to let go of these transactional relationships.
Absolutely. And one of the things that came up for me as you were speaking was I was thinking, yes, about the transactional and like all the effort that to put into a relationship that doesn't work and how frustrating that can be. One of the things that I think was the core of my ability to have social connection again while in pain, I had to begin with myself. And what I mean by beginning with myself is to have that social connection again while in chronic pain. I had to learn again to love myself because I had to understand how valuable and what type of connections that I wanted. And if I was going to spend the little energy that I had with someone to connect, then it had to be meaningful. But if I were to use that little bit of energy on someone who didn't have the emotional capacity or just could not be there for me in that point in time in their journey in their personal human journey, then in a way it was me not loving myself. In a way it was telling
Right.
myself that I'm not worth the connection that I'm yearning for. I'm not worth the love and support that I need right now in my low. So I had to understand by engaging in connections that did not align with my values, that weren't supportive, that weren't uplifting, that weren't just there to hold me while I was in my pain and where I was at my lowest part in other circumstances in my life because of pain. By connecting with that type of person was discounting my value to myself, and it was telling myself my self-efficacy that you'll never get better, that you don't deserve to get better, that you don't deserve to be loved, all of these things in the back of my head anytime I would engage with that group. But if I would engage in a group that was uplifting, that understood me, that also allowed me to be authentically me, laugh when I can and cry when I needed to, then that was me telling myself, okay, I deserve love. Okay, I deserve support. Even though I don't have this, and this in my life right now, even though I don't have this financial stability or things that were in my past before the chronic pain, I know that I'm valued just as myself with this connection with this group. And it's amazing that I'm lucky that it was family, but it's also amazing that I've also found that with my clients and with the community gatherings, with just people who are like-minded and like experienced, that can empathize and that can offer something of themselves, because that's exactly what they need as well. And they
Mm.
understand the importance of that connection.
Amen. Right. Yeah. I mean, it starts with, what do I deserve, right? Do I settle for less, out of, and I speak for myself, out of desperation, right? Or I deserve better and I take the risk, to be seen as myself, and therefore to take the risk, to lose people,
Mhm.
um, even though in that moment we just maybe making space for people who actually, for people to show up. And so, in closing, for me, I just want to repeat your words, and I want to say to you, Amari, to all of you watching, that you deserve love, you deserve connection, you deserve a space where you can be authentic, when you can be genuine. You have a right, to feel what you feel. You have a right to express what you need to express. um, and my invitation to you, like I often do, is to find a space where you are able to do that, to practice that. It is a practice, and sometimes it'll be easier than others. But here, understand that it is a practice to show up as your authentic self. And so I know, here, as we wrapping it up, I just want to maybe briefly mention again that these spaces exist. And you want to say a little bit more about the space that you created, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Pierre. And thank you for those words. So, anybody watching this live or on my replay, I have a chronic pain community gathering that's online on Zoom, completely for free, for any chronic pain warrior. And we meet on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. every week. You can sign up just by going to the link in my bio, Body and More Wellness, and you'll see community gathering there. Just tap that, put in your name, your email, and I'll send you a link to join us tonight.
And for me, the spaces that I've created, or on one hand, spaces specifically for people dealing with cancer, whether you are going through treatment, or you're in remission, or you recovered many years ago, but you're still dealing with some residual emotional stuff. Every Tuesday, from 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m., as well as Wednesday, we have a variety of programs that are funded by Huntington Hospital Cancer Center in Pasadena, California. And you can sign up through the Healing Studio online. And for all the men and the brothers out there who are like, this is kind of weird. When I get with my bros, we talk about sport and politics and cars, and yet I'd like to go a little deeper than that. I would suggest, to join us also for these men's circles. We have men's circles in English, we have men's circles in French. Check out the Sacred Sons, which is also an awesome organization that is creating some spaces like these. Every other Monday, I'm holding a circle called the Deep Dive, with men only. And so again, look for these spaces. Know that you deserve it. Thank you, Amari. Thank you,
Thank
everybody,
you,
for
Pierre.
showing up. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
Thanks,
8
buddy.
a.m. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.